Welcome to the Megacast. I'm Tyler Keefe in the studios of our flagship stations, 89.3 Lakes FM and Civic Center TV, on Comcast Channel 15 and AT&T Channel 99, where you can also find us in the Birmingham-Bloomfield area, on Birmingham Area Municipal Access, and on City Cable 15 of Southfield. Join us on Channel 10 in Waterford every day on the Media Network of Waterford, and live to tape on Channel 10 in Orion Township and Lake Orion on Orion Neighborhood Television, or ONTV, where community television is also like a vacation. You can find us on the radio in the Birmingham, Bloomfield, and Troy areas on the Biff Radio Network, 88.1 The Biff, a service of the Bloomfield Hills School District. Find us online on our Facebook pages at Civic Center TV 15 and at Lakes FM, on our website at civiccentertv.com, and on My Michigan TV beginning at 11 o'clock for the Michigan Megacast, otherwise known as MyMy, at mymytv.com, where you can also learn more about downloading their free apps for your smart TV and your smartphone as well. All of that information is on our website, civiccentertv.com/megacast, where you can also find all of our programs on demand, including each individual interview as well, so you can experience the full 2-hour Megacast on demand, or just certain interviews that are of subject matter or with certain guests that are of interest to you and yours. Then let's head over to our coronavirus page, civiccentertv.com/coronavirus, where we have links to the most up-to-date information on COVID-19 from reliable expert resources from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, and the Oakland County Health Division, so that you can stay up to date on everything you need to know about the spread of COVID-19, precautionary tactics that you may need to employ in your daily life, as well as more information on receiving a vaccination or a booster shot in your community. Also on our coronavirus page at civiccentertv.com/coronavirus, we scour journalistic outlets all throughout the Great Lakes State in order to keep you updated on COVID-19 and other stories making headlines across Michigan. Our top story today from Bridge, Michigan, the Grand Rapids Police Department, following the shooting yesterday, has undergone more investigations and looking into their past. Years of racial bias complaints were piling up well before yesterday's the recent fatal shooting. Grand Rapids joined a long list of American cities where a black motorist died at the hands of police on April 4th. When an officer shot a Congolese immigrant in the head during a struggle following a traffic stop. The death of 26-year-old Patrick Leoya followed years of warnings by community residents over the city police department's treatment of black residents and efforts by the city to improve that relationship. Police released 4 videos of the traffic stop and incident on Wednesday of this week. Officials warned of tough days ahead amid a Michigan State Police investigation into the shooting by the unnamed officer. Quote, "The public has my commitment to get through this together. There will be understandable expressions of shock and anger and pain," as well, said City Manager Mark Washington during a media conference. Leoya was pulled over because his car allegedly had an improper registration. He was unarmed, but a scuffle erupted after he got out of his vehicle. During the video, the officer is heard telling the victim of the shooting to let go of the officer's taser before the shooting occurred. Long before he was shot, city officials acknowledged that all was not right with the Grand Rapids Police Department. Here's a look back at some of the other recent incidents over the past several years in Grand Rapids. In March of 2017, police officers pulled over and aimed guns at a group of 5 young unarmed black boys. The incident was followed by a heated community discussion at city commission meetings. Former Chief of Police Dave Rahinsky, who has since retired, apologized to the boys, their families, and the black community, but he maintained that officers followed protocol. Well, sometimes protocols need to change. The next month, a traffic study was released that showed black motorists in Grand Rapids were twice as likely to be pulled over as their white counterpart motorists, despite the fact that the city's black population was around 14% at the time. As a result of the traffic study, the department hired consulting firm 21st Century Policing to evaluate its policies and procedures and find and remove examples of implicit bias. Some of the recommendations the firm made were to increase cultural competency training for officers and host discussions between the community and police. In December of 2017, the police faced scrutiny when an officer pointed a gun at an unarmed 11-year-old black girl before searching and handcuffing her. This incident led to the department adopting a new youth interactions policy that was implemented to protect other children from unnecessary police force. Then in 2018, there were 2 more incidents of police officers either pointing guns at or handcuffing unarmed black and brown children, prompting the department to update its youth interaction policy just a year after it was created. Police made changes to how youth would be handcuffed, when a child would be put in a police cruiser, and when officers should draw a firearm. In November of 2018, citizens criticized the department after a police captain called U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, or ICE, on U.S. citizen and Marine combat veteran Himar Ramos Gomez, even though he was carrying multiple forms of identification that proved that he was an American citizen. In 2019, the American Civil Liberties Union, or ACLU, and the Michigan Rights Center filed civil rights complaints against police for the situation involving Mr. Ramos Gomez, an unrelated incident where police officers pulled over 2 unarmed teens, one of whom was a 15-year-old of Mexican descent. The complaints led to the Michigan Department of Civil Rights hosting 2 public hearings, during which residents voiced concerns about the way that Grand Rapids police treat black and brown people. The state opted against opening an investigation. Surprise, surprise. In late 2019, a city-sponsored survey found 3 in 10 Grand Rapids residents did not trust the police department. I wonder why. Unlike the traffic study from 2017, this was an anonymous online survey only. In May of 2020, the police budget was increased by $700,000 to $61 million, despite calls from some activists to decrease funding to police. Budgets to other police agencies nationwide also increased around that time as well. Later that month, the murder of George Floyd by police in Minneapolis led to several days of protests in Grand Rapids, including some that resulted in property damage, broken windows, and police dispersing crowds with tear gas and flashbangs. Yep, that's right on cue for them, it seems. Following the protest, Grand Rapids officials said that they were willing to make police reforms to make the department more accountable and safer for residents, as they had done in the past before, and look how that worked out. At the time, many activists were still calling for the department to be defunded or to better invest in community services. On the morning of April 4th, 2022, a 26-year-old immigrant was shot and killed by a Grand Rapids police officer. Chief Eric Winstrom said the investigation, which is being handled by the Michigan State Police, is ongoing. Winstrom wouldn't give the name of the officer who killed this individual, but said the officer was, quote, in shock following the incident. Okay. Yeah, I mean, he shot someone. Usually when you shoot someone, you're in shock after the event. I would think that you would want to put more focus on how the family of this individual is feeling after the shooting, especially considering the history of your department. A lot of violence, a lot of new policies, and then those policies either not being followed or being inherently flawed in many different ways, despite similar discussions being put out in your community. Lots got to change in Grand Rapids. Not entirely surprising, but incredibly unfortunate what has happened in that city in the past several weeks. Also making headlines, civiccentertv.com/coronavirus from the Detroit Free Press. The Royal Oak Planning Commission has backed the plan to demolish the beloved Main Art Theater. We reported on this earlier on in the week. The Royal Oak Planning Commission recommended demolishing the Main Art Theater in favor of a 5-story mixed-use building in a 4-2 vote on Tuesday night. The public meeting included a presentation of the proposed building plan and roughly 1.5 hours of public comments, mostly from those in support of the theater. The Main Art Theater, a staple of downtown Royal Oak since 1941 and located at the corner of North Main Street and 11 Mile, has been closed since April 2021, when Landmark Theaters, which operates the Main Art Theater, announced the theater was closing for the foreseeable future. Friends of the Main Art Theater formed roughly 10 months ago with a purpose to preserve the theater. The group has held fundraisers and marches to rally support for the iconic building as well. Last Saturday, nearly 200 people gathered outside the theater to rally for its preservation in light of proposed demolition plans, but put forth by the building's owner, AF Jonah Management and Development Company. Dennis Cowan, an attorney representing North Main Square LLC, the building developers, spoke of the plan for a 5-story mixed-use building with retail, office, and residential components. He also cast doubt on the viability of an independent movie theater operating out of the Main Art building. Quote, the entire movie industry is in somewhat of upset right now, Cowan said, continuing on. all of us here know you can get almost any movie you want at home. We know that there still is a market, but with respect to this particular building, that is not the case any longer, and their numbers were going down dramatically even before COVID. I mean, movie theaters are back open. Sir, I don't know if you're aware that movie theaters operate all across the country and the world quite normally at this moment in time, and the shutdown of the main art was because of COVID-19. Anyway, subsequently, Landmark decided to pull out of reopening the theater. Members of the Friends of the Main Art Theater spoke at the meeting in support of revitalizing the theater. Jason Krzyzak, president of the group, was in support of the theater, of course, saying, quote, "I would ask that the committee today consider the outpouring of support for the theater and ask that you either table the plans before you tonight until all stakeholders can meet and place a win-win situation, or an outright denial," end closed quote. The Planning Commission recommendation now heads to the Royal Oak City Commission for review. That full article from the Detroit Free Press on our website, civiccentertv.com/coronavirus. Lastly, making headlines on our coronavirus page, also from our friends at the Detroit Free Press, parents of the Oxford High School shooting suspect are seeking lower bonds and are saying they've been misportrayed. James and Jennifer Crumbly are asking a judge to lower their bond, arguing that the prosecution has unfairly portrayed them as bad parents, and that the quote-unquote real facts about how they raised their son and how they responded to the deadly Oxford High School shooting have not fully been disclosed. Each parent wants their bond lowered from $500,000 to $100,000, maintaining that they had no idea that their son would allegedly carry out a school shooting. Quote, "Even the prosecution is changing its understanding of the facts in this case, and it's been recognized that the Crumbleys may be found not guilty," end close quote, said defense lawyers in an argument in a new court filing, adding that the Crumbleys are neither a public safety risk nor a flight risk, particularly if they are placed on local house arrest with GPS tethers. The defense has long maintained that James and Jennifer Crumbly did not know that their son would carry out a school shooting. Quote, "No one expected that the shooter could be or would be homicidal," the Crumbly's lawyer argued in a late Tuesday court filing. Quote, "The media contains so much histrionic and emotional information that many of the real facts of this case have been lost upon the public. The real facts show that this case amounts to a completely devastating event where people want to find someone or something to assign responsibility to." I don't know, maybe the parents of the shooter. The prosecution maintains that the Crumbleys were on the run after learning that they were being charged, though the Crumbleys say they never fled but left town on the night of the shooting for their own safety, end closed quote, and that they plan to surrender the following day at their scheduled court hearing. Okay. The parents are charged with involuntary manslaughter for what prosecutors have alleged amounts to gross negligence. They say that the Crumbleys ignored a mentally ill son who was spiraling out of control, and instead of getting him medical help, they bought him a gun. Lawyers for the Crumbleys argue that that's a misrepresentation of what really happened, maintaining that their clients did look after their son and that the events that unfolded at Oxford High School in November were not their fault. The defense also challenged claims that the shooting suspect asked his parents to take him to a doctor, but that parents refused. Prosecutors have presented text message records from the alleged shooter to a friend in which the teen states, quote, "I am mentally and physically dying. I'm going to ask my parents to go to the doctor tomorrow, but this time I'm going to tell them about the voices," end closed quote. In another text message to a friend, the accused shooter allegedly wrote, quote, "I actually asked my dad to take me to the doctor the other day, and he just gave me some pills and said to suck it up. My mom laughed when I told her," end closed quote. Prosecutors have also cited a journal entry in which the alleged shooter blamed his parents for what was about to happen. Quote, "I will cause the biggest school shooting in Michigan's history. I will kill everyone I effing see," end closed quote, the alleged shooter wrote in his journal. Quote, "I have fully mentally lost it after years of fighting my dark side. My parents won't listen to me about help or a therapist," end closed quote. The defense maintains there is no proof of that. Quote, "There is no evidence that the school shooter did ask his parents to go to the doctor, nor did he ever ask," end closed quote, defense attorneys argued in this week's court filing. The cross-examination the defense is referring to involves multiple witnesses who testified at the parents' last hearing, including a horse farm owner who told the court that Jennifer Crumbly was afraid her son was suicidal and didn't want him to be alone after learning he was researching bullets on his phone at school. The defense also cited the testimony of a police official who said the school teacher a school teacher contacted Jennifer Crumbly to let her know that her son had been looking up bullets in class. Quote, but the teacher ended the voicemail message by saying that Jennifer Crumbly did not need to call her back, and close quote, the filing says. The filing also noted that Jennifer Crumbly drove from work to Oxford that day, quote, believing that her son may have the gun at school after learning that it was missing from the home, and, quote, was afraid her son may kill himself as she texted him, quote, don't do it, and closed quote. The defense lawyers conceded in their filing that the father did buy a Sig Sauer handgun on November 26th, just 4 days before the massacre at Oxford High School, and that the mother took her son to the shooting range the following day after the purchase. But they had no idea he would carry out a mass shooting, the defense maintained, saying, quote, despite the devastating actions of their son and the incredible losses he caused for the victims' families, friends, and the community, Mr. and Mrs. Crumbly are not criminally liable, and close quote. Lawyers for the Crumblys argued in the filing. They continued on saying, quote, the events of November 30th, 2021 are undoubtedly the most tragic days in the community the victims, their families, and friends have ever seen. This case clearly involves a young man who was not on any person's radar to be a threat to himself or any other person, lawyers for the Crumblys argued in a filing this week, continuing on with more garbage, saying, quote, this includes not only his parents' radar, but also among staff at his high school and other individuals who testified at the preliminary exam, and closed quote. The filing continued on. The testimony showed that everyone involved was shocked and surprised, including Mr. and Mrs. Crumbly. There was no evidence admitted to show that the shooter had made himself a known threat to his parents or otherwise. The worst-case scenario that Mrs. Crumbly believed was that her son could be suicidal and that she was taking that possibility seriously, particularly after the school counselor was concerned about suicidal ideations, defense lawyers argued. The shooter remains jailed on no bond at the Oakland County jail where he is being held on 4 first-degree murder and terrorism charges. Through his attorney, the suspect has pleaded not guilty and is planning an insanity defense as well. The Crumblys are due back in court April 19th for a pre-trial hearing where the lawyers will argue for lower bond, as they've listed here in the findings of this article. All those headlines on our website, civiccentertv.com/coronavirus, as well as those ever helpful links to accurate information on COVID-19 from the CDC, the MDHHS, and the Oakland County Health Division. We have a great program ahead on this Thursday edition of the Oakland County Megacast. Coming up, we'll talk with Barb Williams from Pontiac's Catholic Community Response Team, followed by Dewey Steffen from Great Lakes Wealth. All of that is up next. This is the Oakland County Megacast.
A message from the staff of Michigan's Crime Victim Compensation Program.
Anyone can be a victim of crime
and suffer lasting trauma, physically, emotionally, and financially.
But you are not alone.
If you're struggling financially due to a crime,
we're here
for you. Find out if you qualify for crime victim compensation. Call 877-251-7373 or visit michigan.gov/crime-victim.
A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, Division of Victim Services.
We're pleased to be joined now by the director of the Catholic Community Response Team located in Pontiac, Michigan. Barb Williams is on the Michigan Megacast. Barb, thank you for being with us.
Thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, appreciate having you on the program with us. So first, can you tell us a little bit about the Catholic Community Response Team and the ways that it serves the community in Pontiac and surrounding areas?
Okay, well, the Catholic Community Response Team, we've been here for 18 years, and we do basically emergency services for vulnerable persons, things like solving their eviction problems and helping with utility bills, identification documents. So that's anything that applies to their basic needs: food, clothing, shelter, utility payments, those sorts of things.
What communities are supported by the response team? Of course, Pontiac is where you're located, but do you serve communities beyond that?
Our mission has always been focused on Pontiac. Pontiac, as you know, has one of the highest, if not the highest, poverty rate in Oakland County. So the churches that formed us 18 years ago all surround the Pontiac community. So our mission, not only to serve the Pontiac community, but to build a bridge between communities such as Rochester, Waterford, Auburn Hills, Lake Orion, that we can kind of build support back and forth using time, talent, and treasure to help the Pontiac community.
Can you give us a little bit of a look into the history of the organization? When did it begin, and what ultimately was that spark that made the Catholic Community Response Team rise in Pontiac?
Yeah, well, we started 2004, and of course, when we opened the doors, it was really just handling referrals. So we didn't have a big budget. We were just really here to disseminate information, try to connect citizens with various St. Vincent de Paul and other resources that might be able to solve their problems. But over time, we realized we had to do much more than that. And so we really rallied our churches and our parishioners. And of course, it spread from there to many social groups and other nonprofits to build a collaboration to really boost the situation here in Pontiac. We've got a new government now, and there's lots of jobs out there, so we're really excited about the future. But over time, when we started helping people just with their evictions and their food and their utilities, we really said we need something more. We need something to offer the citizens. So I think our big catalyst, if you will, was starting to offer a program called Getting Ahead, which tried to move people and does move people from poverty to self-sustainability. It's a 16-week workshop. We have one running right now over at United Wholesale Mortgage Sports Complex with about 15 students in it. And they investigate poverty. They investigate how it impacts their community. And they investigate the resources that will help them move forward. So a lot of our help starts with just one person who comes in who's being evicted because they had a one-time problem. They had a big car repair and it made them unable to pay their rent this month. But some people wake up every day and day after day and week after week, and they're what we call just living in the tyranny of the moment. And they're trying to solve their problem for the day, whether it's paying their rent, paying their utilities, putting food on the table. So for people who live just spinning kind of in the tyranny of the moment, we really recommend our Getting Ahead program. And I think that's the program that really catapulted us into more exposure and more meaningful commitment to the city.
We're joined by Barb Williams, the director of the Catholic Community Response Team located in Pontiac, joining us on the Michigan Megacast. They are one of nearly 300 Share Detroit-supported charities and nonprofits in the southeastern Michigan area. Learn more information by visiting sharedetroit.org, where you can look up information on the Catholic Community Response Team and other organizations impacting our community as well. So you mentioned one of your key programs in the Catholic Community Response Team over there. What are some of the other programs, events, and initiatives that are ongoing or will be ongoing in your organization that benefit the Pontiac community?
Okay, so ongoing immediate services we provide: food, clothing, identification documents. If you don't have your birth certificate, your driver's license, state ID card, you can't get a job. Personal grooming items, cleaning items for the home. Those are items that aren't covered by food stamps, so we try to supplement families that need those items. Longer term things would be preventing evictions. Preventing evictions help build stable communities so we don't have turnover in the community all the time. Security deposits for people coming out of homelessness. We help with their security deposit, a one-time expense. Then we also offer furniture. We provide furniture for the home, new beds for the children, and get them set up. We run a furniture bank as well. And then our special programs, besides the Getting Ahead program, we do back to school uniforms, back to school clothing and supplies. We distribute Thanksgiving. For the last 5 years, we've done over 1,500 Thanksgiving turkey baskets. We do Christmas baskets. We participate in early literacy programs with Great Start Collaborative in Oakland County. We have a bike program that provides people bikes to get back to work, people returning from the Michigan Department of Corrections who need transportation. So it's quite extensive, we try to fulfill the needs of whatever it is that people need coming out. A lot of our funding also comes from private donations. So we're not limited to government funding, which a lot of times has a lot of specifics attached to it. Specific income, specific qualifications, specific eligibility. Our funding is mostly through private donations and foundations. And so we have a little more latitude in the types of problems that we can help with.
We're joined by Barb Williams, the director of the Catholic Community Response Team, one of nearly 300 Shared Detroit-supported charities and nonprofits in southeastern Michigan. Joining us on the Michigan Megacast. More information on Shared Detroit's website at shareddetroit.org. Barb, if people are in need of some of the services or help from the initiatives of the Catholic Community Response Team in Pontiac, what are some ways that they can go about seeking those services from your organization?
Okay, well, all they really need to start is a phone call. So they can call our office. They can contact us through our Facebook page, through a Facebook message. They can contact us through our website, ccresponseteam.weebly.com, and fill out a form on that website, whatever they need help with or are looking for assistance with. So numerous ways. The Share Detroit website, they can connect with CCRT on the Share Detroit website. So we're easy, only a phone call away, very easy to contact. And they just basically touch base, and then we do an extensive interview initially to look at their total situation, and try to assess and make decisions on how we can be of service, how we can help them move forward.
The website again, ccresponseteam.weebly.com. That's ccresponseteam.weebly.com. The phone number for the Catholic Community Response Team in Pontiac is 248-491-9621. That's 248-491-9621. Barb, what are some of the key ways at this moment in time that the community can help your organization continue to provide its services to those in need in Pontiac?
Okay, well, obviously, there's always cash donations are always accepted and used wisely. We're very proud of our frugalness here. So cash donations, but there are a lot of other ways too. For instance, we put out on our Facebook page that we're distributing Easter baskets, and many local churches in the area answered the call and provided 20, 50, 70 Easter baskets. We do the same with back to school. We reach out to our network of churches and organizations to help us provide these school uniforms, and we have a great response with that. If you're a Girl Scout leader or Boy Scout troop and you'd like to do a toiletry drive, we would love to give you a list of toiletries that our families need and put packs together for that. So there are many ways that people can reach out to us that are not just cash donations. Through volunteering. We have volunteer openings, help with our office scheduling, answering the phone. We are almost 100% volunteer organization. We only have 3 part-time employees, actually. So that's why I say any donations that come into us really do go directly to the clients, because very low overhead, only 3 part-time personnel, and most of our work is done by volunteers who are trying to live out their faith and in mission in service to others. So volunteering in the office, volunteering with our furniture bank, volunteering with driving, distributing our food and clothing. Through COVID now, we've had to change, so we do all home deliveries now of our food and clothing. So take some drivers.
We're joined by Barb Williams, the director of the Catholic Community Response Team located in Pontiac, with us on the Michigan Megacast. More information on their website, ccresponseteam.weebly.com. That's ccresponseteam.weebly.com. You can also get in contact with them by calling their phone number at 248-499-9621, 248-499-9621, or sending an email to ccrt@ccrt-pontiac.org. ccrt@ccrt-pontiac.org. Barb, anything else about the organization that would be important for our audience to know at this time, or anything else we haven't discussed today about the Catholic Community Response Team?
Well, the other just point I'd like to make is that we do collaborate with a lot of other groups in the area. We're a community navigator for the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services. So for people who just need to get online to do their bridge card or renew their food stamps or file a request for assistance, we do that right in our offices here. We participate with the Michigan Department of Corrections Steering Committee for returning citizens to Oakland County, trying to get them, those who don't have a lot of family support and are recently released, trying to get them clothing and documents, food, to get them kind of somewhat situated when they're first released. And then we work with the Regional Chamber of Commerce here in Pontiac as well in terms of workforce development. We find our Getting Ahead program really speaks to workforce development in people who have been out of the job market for a while or have never really entered the job market, so that they are stable enough to hold a job. Because as you know, a lot of people can get a job, they struggle to hold the job. So we find going through our Getting Ahead program and feeling that they have more stability in their lives sometimes helps with those first jobs.
Barbara, thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
A message from the staff of Michigan's Crime Victim Compensation Program.
Anyone can be a victim of crime
and suffer lasting trauma, physically, emotionally, and financially.
But you are not alone.
If you're struggling financially due to a crime,
we're here
for you.
Find out if you qualify for crime victim compensation.
Call 877-251-7373 or visit michigan.gov/crime-victim.
A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, Division of Victim Services.
If you are struggling to afford your internet bills during the pandemic, there's a temporary government program that may be able to help. It's called the Emergency Broadband Benefit, and it provides up to a $50 monthly discount on your broadband bill to qualifying households. Find more information about the program, including if you qualify and how to enroll, at fcc.gov/broadbandbenefit, or call toll-free at 833-511-0311.
A public service announcement from 89.3 Lakes FM.
You see certain things get reincarnated in your children. My daughter is very much inspired by my wife's artistic pursuits. So my daughter started making necklaces. She makes what we call affirmation fashion. I tell her every day that your black is beautiful. Your black is beautiful. Your black is beautiful. And if there's anything better than being beautiful, it's being smart. And if there's anything better than being smart, it's being kind. And reaffirming that every day is our method of making sure her chin never drops. My dad wasn't around, and I remember riding a bike and falling off and cutting myself, and me never just wanting to get back on it. People ask, how your children learn how to ride a bike, and you didn't. I didn't teach them. I just created an environment where they taught themselves, and all I had to do was be there.
Whether you're the city,
the county,
or the Huron River Watershed Council.
As partners working together to protect our water resources, we agree.
Pet waste is a source of harmful bacteria in the Huron River.
When it's left on the ground, it can wash into the storm drains.
These lead directly to our streams. No filters, no treatment.
Here's one thing we know that can help keep our water clean.
Pick up pet waste and trash it.
Pick up pet waste and trash it.
So pick up pet waste and trash it.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
Joining us now Stiles, the CEO and the Chief Investment Officer with Great Lakes Wealth, and the one of the co-hosts of the What Do We Do podcast. Dewey Steffen's back with us once again on the Megacast. Dewey, thank you for being with us.
Hey, Tyler, great to see you again. Thanks for having me.
Hey, good to see you as well. So, kind of an interesting time we're in. The economy's kind of all over the place. High inflation, low unemployment rate, up and down stock market, and then there's never any certainty necessarily in the stock market or in investing. So at this time, what is your advice in terms of things that people should be focusing on in the market that may be protective, but also be putting out a little bit of that risk that could be a big boom for them in the future?
Well, Tyler, you hit it right on the head. As Confucius say, may you live in interesting times. And we certainly have those. So yes, it comes back to the basics, though, of the 3 Ps in this environment. Don't panic, be patient, and execute your plan. So as we always say, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. So whether it's certain times of maybe a year or two ago to uncertain times of now, if you will, you always just have to have a plan, and you're on your way.
We're joined by Dewey Steffen, the CEO and Chief Investment Officer of Great Lakes Wealth, with us on the Oakland County Megacast. So inflation's high, the cost of goods and services are also at record high levels in some cases. How does that change the way that you approach investment advice and how people that are out in the market should be approaching their investments, given that at some point this adjustment will be made, things may return back to some semblance of normal, but it could be a while in the market before that adjustment's made?
Tyler, again, you're right on it. So this is part of the business cycle. For a long time, we were in the early phase, the middle phase. We think we're in the late phase. And then the 4th phase is actually recession. So we haven't talked about recession in a long time. In 2008, we had the Great Recession. More recently, when COVID started, we had a mild, fast recession. A recession is 2 quarters back-to-back of negative GDP. So with high inflation, as you mentioned, with all the things that are changing, your investment strategy needs to change as well. What got us here is not what's going to get us there in terms of investing. So we say things like rotate and rebalance.
So when you're talking about preparing yourself for a potential recession, that can, I would imagine, for a lot of people, be spooky, be something that spooks them into maybe getting out of the market in certain places or moving some of their money around into safer investments. What should they be doing to prepare for that point where we do go through the cycle and into the recession point so that they're not losing a ton of money in the market from their investments, from their investment stock prices going down due to the recession and the ultimate effects of that, but also in a way that doesn't affect them and their potential gains down the line when the market does adjust back to some semblance of normal or in a positive direction?
Certainly. So we're not in recession yet. So let's slow down and understand where we are. You mentioned our podcast. So the What Do We Do podcast, have our little mug right here. We had an episode that came out last Wednesday, number 57, and we talked about at the end of the first quarter and how to invest for success for the rest of this year. We talked about this being the late stage of the business cycle from our perspective, and the investments are different. So you need to have hard assets. You need to have investments that pay dividends. You need to recognize, again, where we are and have a playbook for success. And Tyler, to your point, what got us here is not what's going to get us there. And with a recession, it doesn't have to be a deep dive recession. It can be what's called a mild recession. And the reason the markets are under pressure and a lot of the stock markets globally are negative, and some of them are into what they call bear markets, if you want to call it that, it's because people are trying to front run and prepare and get out prior to this recession. And again, we don't think that's appropriate because we're not in recession yet. So again, it's not convoluted. It's just you need to understand what you're trying to accomplish and why. But in late stage investing, it is not the tech stocks that get you where you need to be. When the Fed is raising rates, when there is a slowdown in the economy, it is not the NASDAQ, it is not the tech stocks that lead the charge. It is a whole new set of investments. Those, again, that pay dividends, those that are more on the large cap in nature. So again, you need to understand what you have and where you're going.
We're joined by Dewey Steffen, CEO and Chief Investment Officer with Great Lakes Wealth. More information on the website, greatlakeswealth.us. And we also mentioned the What Do We Do podcast. You can learn more information and view their episodes and listen to their episodes on whatdowedopodcast.com. That's what Dewey, D-E-W-E-Y, do podcast.com for more information on the podcast. And, of course, you can learn more about it as well at greatlakeswealth.us. And so we're in the middle of April. We're approaching the end of the school year for colleges and universities. That means graduation. That means new people coming into the job market and full-time work. And some of those will have benefits with their new employers and be able to begin their own investing, or be able to do, or are more than capable of doing so now, even before that. So for these young people that are coming into the workforce, that are coming into the market for the first time, what is your advice for them as they're entering this market, especially given the times that we're in, to put their best foot forward and start planning for their future?
Tyler, great question. And this is an exciting time to be a college graduate. It might be filled with anxiety, but in days gone by and decades past, students would come out of college and say, there's no jobs. There's no jobs. I don't know what to do. I can't get a job. This will be the first time ever in history that the kids coming out of college won't be able to get jobs and live the best life, compared to their parents and grandparents. Well, it's the opposite. There are 11 million jobs posted and only 6 million people looking. We have full employment of 3.6% unemployment, which is full employment. However, there's 11 million jobs available out there. And we did a podcast on this thing called the Great Resignation, where more than 50% of people working are not happy where they're at. A lot of times the employees can dictate wages right now. There's a lot of things going on. So if I'm coming out of college now, I am fired up. So what you need to do is then be responsible. Certainly when you get that opportunity and get employment, then set yourself up for success. Enroll immediately into the company-sponsored retirement plan, either a 401k or 403b. And if they match, you absolutely better be putting enough of your own money in to get that entire match. And then from there, you just take steps 2, 3, and 4. But I'll take a break, see what you have to say.
And so with those students coming out, with them getting those jobs that are available to them, and many of those having benefits be attached to them as an incentive to get some of these high quality candidates fresh out of college, fresh out of university into these jobs, that also brings up the topic of student loan debt. On one hand, you have an opportunity to invest your money and get that full match, but on the other hand, your paycheck's by and large going toward your bills and certainly to start paying down those debts. So what's your advice for those students coming out into the workforce and into the market now with their loans now beginning to be due in full capacity, to make that balance between paying their bills, of course, is always important, but also not neglecting their financial planning for the future?
Yeah, it's just like everything else. You need to have a diversified portfolio. You need to have good debt and retire or get rid of or service bad debt. You also need to make sure you have good investments and get rid of or service or retire bad investments. So it kind of goes both ways. With that, in terms of your debt and where we're at now, interest rates are going up. And that doesn't matter whether it's your school loans and that debt or credit card debt or a mortgage. So we say deal with debt. That's actually number one, deal with debt. So get rid of bad debt, but also take advantage of good debt. If you are going to be getting a purchase a new home or a condo or something, a car, whatever it might be, get those interest rates locked in now. They're going to be going higher. So deal with debt, get rid of bad debt, and lock in what we would consider good debt. That's number one, Tyler. And then after that, you need to invest in your company plan. You need to also, with student debt, it's probably in the lower interest rate range. So you can make your minimum payments on that, service that debt, but also with the extra income that you have, don't blow it. Don't go party. Don't start with vacations. Make sure you start responsibly, invest for success, deal with debt, and you're on your way to prosperity.
We're joined by Dewey Steffen, CEO and Chief Investment Officer at Great Lakes Wealth. Learn more information on their website, greatlakeswealth.us, and a ton of financial tips and investment tips from their podcast, the What Do We Do podcast, whatdowedopodcast.com for more information and to watch and listen to all of their episodes and find their social media as well. And so, Dewey, as you have all these different options in the market, at this given time, there's always that debate between beyond your company-matched investments, usually a 401k, do you invest in an IRA, in a Roth IRA, or in some other investment form in the market? Is it a good time for an IRA to start that off, or to really put a lot of effort into building an IRA or a Roth IRA at this time, given the market that we're in?
Absolutely. So taxes are predicted to go up as well because of paying for all the things dealing with COVID, plus the situation we're in. So your 401k at work or 403b, as well as IRAs and Roths, those are considered tax sheltered or tax-free vehicles, Tyler. So they're so important for today because you can get at least tax deferred growth, but maybe even tax-free growth. And when tax rates will be higher, as again, younger people have increases in their wages, your tax rate goes up as well. So all the way around, make sure you do your 401k or 403b, even if there is no match. That doesn't matter. Still do that. And then if you qualify for a Roth IRA, which is basically under $140,000 of income for this year, if you're single, and you actually have until April 18th, which is next Monday, to put in for last year, so it's not too late for 2021. So do your Roth IRA, absolutely, number one, no doubt about it.
So on that note, you mentioned that April 18th deadline for putting money into your IRA for the 2021 tax year, despite us being 4 months and some change into 2022. How can that impact ultimately your tax implications for 2021 and even impact potentially your tax return, which then can be further invested into the market?
Well, even if you've already filed your 2021 tax return, you can still amend it, or in this case, you can just still deposit to a Roth IRA if you qualify. It does not have any bearing on your tax return. There's no deductions. There's no, penalties. There's no anything. So you can still go ahead and do your Roth IRA. When you start talking about different retirement vehicles, whether that's a traditional IRA, that's a whole nother ball of wax. And as we always say, please consult a tax professional, a CPA, a financial advisor. Don't go it alone. Find some help, and we'll be happy to help.
More information on their website and get in contact with them for help if you so choose to do so. GreatLakesWealth.us. That's GreatLakesWealth.us. Their podcast, What Do We Do Podcast, Dewey, D-E-W-E-Y, What Do We Do Podcast.com to listen to all those episodes. And let's talk about the What Do We Do podcast. You mentioned some of the more recent episodes. What is on the docket for the What Do We Do podcast? What sort of advice can listeners expect to learn in the near future?
Tyler, I am so excited to share that our podcast, which is now almost 2 years old, has over 30,000 downloads and views and listens. That's incredible, from something that just started here as a community project during COVID to help members of our community not just survive, but thrive. And as we've grown and the podcast has grown, so has our content. I do have a co-host, Brooke Allen. She's a radio on-air personality. She's fantastic. So her and I kind of tackle subjects together, but we also bring in guests. And Tyler, this is where it's exciting. We've had amazing guests on the past. We've had Red Wing great Darren McCarty. We've had Mr. Wonderful from Shark Tank, Kevin O'Leary. Here locally, and this would be important for those that are maybe coming out of college, we had Casey Herbis, the Chief Marketing Officer at Rocket Mortgage. We've had recently David Provost, the retired chairman of the board from Huntington Bank. But here who's coming up next. We have Tom Chelani. He is a businessman local. He is a philanthropist, national, global. He'll be coming on in the next month or so to talk about, how his family started from modest means and how he's grown this amazing empire of entrepreneurship. So that's Tom Chelani coming up. And then to end of season 2, we have a commitment from LPGA star Jessica Korda, and she's going to give an interview with us exclusive for the What Do We Do podcast in June. And she, again, is going to talk about all things in her world, from investing to what it takes to be a successful athlete and everything from being a female in a competitive environment. So we're excited for the content we have in terms of educating in financial matters, but also bringing on leaders in the community to tell their story and their suggestions to help our community not just survive, but thrive.
GreatLakesWealth.us is their website, GreatLakesWealth.us, on Instagram, on Facebook, and on LinkedIn at Great Lakes Wealth as well. The What Do We Do podcast can be found online, whatdowedopodcast.com, or by following any of the Great Lakes Wealth social media, again, at Great Lakes Wealth. Dewey, thank you for joining us.
Hey, awesome to be here with you, Tyler. Thanks again for having me.
Who is struggling right now?
I am.
My son is.
Many are struggling with anxiety, depression, and substance use. Before it becomes a crisis, reach out to MyCal, the Michigan Crisis and Access Line, for free confidential support 24/7. Available in the Upper Peninsula and Oakland County. Just call or text 1-844-44-MyCal or chat online at michigan.gov/MyCal. A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services.
Motorcyclists are hard to see. To keep everyone safer, it's important to always look for them and know where most crashes occur. 84% of motorcycle and vehicle crashes happen on streets, not highways. And most crashes with motorcyclists occur when vehicle drivers are turning left. So before turning, especially to the left, make sure you look for motorcyclists. Then look again. It could save a life.
To Sophia and Gabriel. Even though these old knees can't follow on your adventure to the forest today, these flowers represent my love. These stitches and threads join us together. And wherever you see a flower, a bird, a beautiful tree, know that my love is with you.
Make the forest part of your story at a park near you. Find one at discovertheforest.org.
72.7% of high school students get less than the recommended 7 to 9 hours of sleep a night. This can cause pain, obesity, and can very negatively affect your mental health. When you have a consistent 7 to 9 hours of sleep every day, you get sick less often, lose more weight, and have better relationships with those around you. For more information about the dangers of sleep deprivation, go to sleepfoundation.org. This message is brought to you by the WBHS Digital Media Arts Program and 89.3 Lakes FM.
Can I ask you a question? Why did you get your kids vaccinated?
It was hard for them to social distance, to be isolated from their friends.
I want them to get back to school and sports games. So as a pediatrician, I recommend the vaccine to everyone I know.
The boys lost a former teammate and classmate who was only 20 years old. It's been a devastating year.
We want to get back to normalcy. Our daughter is really looking forward to being with her friends, being a kid.
It's the Great Lakes water. And so what people do ends up in our waterways.
Flushable wipes are just evil. They should be thrown away. They're impossible to destroy, and they can cause significant problems.
One of the main things when you're cooking is to not dump fats, oils, and greases down your drains.
They stick to the sides of pipes. They stick to everything they come in contact with. Don't put it down the sink.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
When times get dark, we can't see the help that's all around us. When you don't know where to turn, let 211 be your guiding light.
How can I help you?
Our guides are ready to connect you with the help you need. For help with food, healthcare, mental health, and other resources. Call 211 or visit 211.org. 211. Get connected, get help.
We may come from different organizations,
but we work together to protect the Huron River for everyone.
Neighborhood storm drains carry water directly to local creeks and streams. No filters, no treatment.
Storm drains also help reduce street flooding when it rains.
So clearing storm drains and the areas nearby of trash and leaves helps keep them for rain only.
It is easy to do your part by adopting a storm drain.
Find a storm drain, check it, and clear it every month.
So keep storm drains for rain only.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
If you are struggling to afford your internet bills during the pandemic, there's a temporary government program that may be able to help. It's called the Emergency Broadband Benefit, and it provides up to a $50 monthly discount on your broadband bill to qualifying households. Find more information about the program, including if you qualify and how to enroll, at fcc.gov/broadbandbenefit or call toll-free at 833-511-0311.
A public service announcement from 89.3 Lakes FM.
We as Michiganders feel connected to this resource in a way that I think is really powerful.
Conservation starts with a caring, committed community.
For me, it's peaceful to have a relationship with the river.
Every single one of us has a role to make sure that those waterways stay safe and healthy, being careful about what goes down the storm drain.
Just even eliminating some of your single-use plastic makes a difference.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
Did you know that nearly 3.31 million Americans don't get their annual checkup? Going to the doctor regularly is extremely important and is a crucial factor in maintaining good health. Make sure you are visiting your local doctor often and telling them about any health concerns you have. For more information, contact your local healthcare provider. This message is brought to you by WBHS Digital Media Arts Program and 89.3 Lakes FM.
People are getting out to walk and bike in higher numbers. More vulnerable road users and higher speed traffic can be a dangerous combination. Crash severity has increased, so if you're driving, be sure to slow down and look for people. There's no need to speed. If you're biking, ride with traffic. If you're walking, avoid stepping into the road if possible. If you have to walk in the street, walk facing traffic. Learn more at walkbikedrivesafe.org.
When times get dark, we can't see the help that's all around us. When you don't know where to turn, let 211 be your guiding light.
How can I help you?
Our guides are ready to connect you with the help you need. For help with food, healthcare, mental health, and other resources. Call 211 or visit 211.org. 211. Get connected, get help.
Welcome back to the Michigan Megacast on your family of TV, radio, and other media outlets joining us each and every day, including your radio homes for the program, 89.3 WBLD Orchard Lake and 88.1 WBFH Bloomfield Hills. Learn more about the program by visiting civiccentertv.com/megacast, where you'll find information on our entire network of stations, including My Michigan TV. Joining us now from Grace Centers of Hope in Pontiac, Michigan, is their Women's Program Director, Dr. Pam Clark. Dr. Clark, thanks for being with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Appreciate having you on. So first off, for those that are unfamiliar with Grace Centers of Hope, can you give us a little bit of a background on this organization and the ways that it benefits the local community?
Right, Tyler. Grace Centers of Hope is a rehab homeless shelter. We have a program for women, children, and kids. Men also. They come into our program. They're usually addicted to drugs. They've been abused. They've been neglected. And we're seeing more and more women that have been trafficked by the situation that's happened to them. And they come in for a year and work on their issues. They have a case manager, counselor. Their children can come in with them. We have a a state-of-the-art daycare. They have classes on the issues that, that they're dealing with. And also this case manager will help them, deal with the courts and whatever that's happened along the way. Then we also have a 2-year aftercare program where they can live in one of our 58 houses and they pay a small amount for rent and they work and become productive citizens.
And so how do people come to Grace Centers of Hope? Is this something where they voluntarily enter? Is it court ordered? Is it some other means that they come through?
Most people come because they want to. Getting clean from alcohol, drugs is difficult. So if your mother wants you to, or your uncle, that usually doesn't work. But when you decide you actually want to change your mindset and get off of drugs or alcohol, that usually works at Grace Centers. We have a few that are court ordered, but probably 85% have come on their own.
We're joined by the Women's Program Director at Grace Centers of Hope, Dr. Pam Clark, joining us on the Michigan Megacast. Dr. Clark, give us a little bit of information on your background and how you got involved with Grace Centers of Hope.
Well, I probably didn't go to college to be here, but my husband was put on the board and he said, I had a small private practice at that time. And he said, come out here and look at this. They don't have anything for women. They just have for men. So I came out and I just fell in love. I mean, these are precious women that have been abused and neglected, and they just grabbed my heart. I love them, and just to see the change, the transformations, we see miracles here every day. And women that came in and they're 90 pounds, they've been using heroin for 20 years, and then God gets a hold of them and they change their life. And it's really a mindset, we call it change from the inside out. They begin to deal with the deep issues, and then they begin to look different on the outside. And it's amazing what they can accomplish.
We're joined by Dr. Pam Clark, the Women's Program Director at Grace Centers of Hope, joining us on the Michigan Megacast. You mentioned earlier that in discussing with your husband some of the programs at Grace Centers of Hope while he was on the board of the organization, that he had said that we have a lot for men, but we don't have any women's programs. And so you, as the Women's Program Director, can you tell us about the Women's Program, how it got started, and what that entails at this moment in time at Grace Centers of Hope?
It's amazing. In fact, Kyle, we just put in another building because we were turning away so many women. We are the only program in southeast Michigan that rehabs women and children together. We also have a program for men, but that women can come in and bring their children, and we have a state-of-the-art daycare, and we have counselors for their children. So not only are they getting help, but these children have been taken with these parents along with during their drug use, which creates all kinds of problems and abuse with the children. A lot of the children were taken away from their parents at one point in time. And Grace Centers of Hope, the Women's Program, goes to court with them. When they begin to turn their life around, they begin to have visits, and, that we integrate these families back together. I mean, that's one of the things we really believe in is community. Like God created family. In fact, what's happening in the United States is the deterioration of families. So we're trying to put families back together and unite these and teach these women how to be mothers and how to deal with their children, at the ages that they return to them.
And so how different is it to put programs together specifically for women as opposed to more general programs for the entire population of those that are at Grace Centers of Hope for their 1-year program or in their recovery phase program for 2 years?
We did some stats. That's a good question. We did some stats quite a few years ago, and more women, about 80% more women, stayed in the program longer when they had their children with them. That fact that I have 2 kids here and they need for me to stay here and finish the program and be accountable and learn to be balanced and deal with my issues and learn how to be a good mom. So women that are single, will leave a lot easier than a mom that has 3 children with her.
We're joined by Pam Clark, Dr. Pam Clark, the Women's Program Director at Grace Centers of Hope, joining us on the Michigan Megacast. Dr. Clark, coming up on Saturday, April 23rd, that's a week from Saturday, it's the 24th Annual Grace Centers of Hope Women Helping Women Luncheon and Fashion Show. Can you tell us about the event and also how this event helps to support the women's program through Grace Centers of Hope?
We are so excited. This is the 24th Annual Women Helping Women Fashion Show and Luncheon, and it's at the gorgeous Royal Park Hotel, and the meal is phenomenal. And it's especially after 2 years of being in lockdown, it's good that women can get out and get together and dress up and have an elegant meal. And it's really helps the Grace Centers of Hope because it raises the money that we can continue supporting these women and children for another year. And there, some of the stats that I was reading the other day, that this heroin epidemic, this, is like deteriorating the next generation. In fact, we're having more deaths in the United States than we are births because of the pandemic and drug abuse, because women and kids and men are ODing. Also, last year was the highest rate of children, 14 to 18 deaths because of overdose. So it is an epidemic here in our country, here in Michigan. And so being able to turn that around, turn women around, thousands of women get their life back. So the fashion show is just an amazing event, and it's just a fun way to do it. I mean, women get to dress up and have a wonderful meal and see the lives change. We have videos, and we have women with their testimonies of where they came from and where they're going. They've been rescued and turned around.
We're joined by Dr. Pam Clark, Women's Program Director at Grace Centers of Hope, joining us on the Michigan Megacast. More information on the website at gracecentersofhope.org. That's gracecentersofhope.org. Go to the top of their page. There is a special segment. There's a section there called Special Events, and just one drop down from that is the fashion show tickets and fashion show information, so you can learn more about their Women Helping Women Luncheon and Fashion Show. That is Saturday, April 23rd, from 10 a.m. until 2 p.m. And if you'd like to learn more about the event as well and ask any questions, you can contact our special events coordinator, April Melick, at amelik@gracecentersofhope.org. That's AMELIK at gracecentersofhope.org. Dr. Clark, can you talk about some of the fashion designers and retailers who will be participating in this special event?
We are so excited that Somerset Collection is going to partner with us, and some of the retailers, and Fortain is going to be, we're going to start with them. In fact, this afternoon, I'm taking 8 of our models to Somerset, and they will get to try on beautiful outfits. And we call this, when they're at Grace Centers, we call it change from the inside out. But they get to start today with the outside and, be pampered. They get their hair done, they get their makeup done. And it's just so rewarding to see them in that light. And we just want to thank again Somerset Collection for being involved with us.
We're joined by Dr. Pam Clark, the Director of the Women's Program at Grace Centers of Hope. More information on the Women's Program, as well as the Women Helping Women Luncheon and Fashion Show event happening on April 23rd from 10 to 2 p.m. on gracecentersofhope.org. That's gracecentersofhope.org. There was a very special moment at every fashion show. That is the Grace Centers of Hope women models who are proud to sort down the runway right alongside professional models as well. Can you talk about that relationship in this event and how that helps to make this a special moment, but also a moment of partnership out in the community as well?
Right. The professional models are unbelievable. And for our girls to be up there on the stage with these gorgeous outfits, and the models will help them get dressed and show them how to walk. And it's just amazing transformation for these girls. It's a once in a lifetime. Who gets to A, go to the Royal Park, and B, wear the clothes from Somerset, and walk on the runway with professional models that kind of give you tips. And these professional models are so good to my girls. They want to hear their stories, and professional models have stories also. And also our kids at Grace Centers, we have 6 children that will be modeling clothes from Somerset Collection for them to see them walk down. It's the sweetest thing ever. These little kids, whatever they do is cute. I mean, we've had them take the mic and talk, and we've had them run, and we've had them really strut their stuff. It's amazing, and a one-time life experience for them also.
We're joined by Dr. Pam Clark, Women's Program Director at Grace Centers of Hope, joining us on the Michigan Megacast. More information on the Women's Program, on Grace Centers of Hope, and on the Women Helping Women Luncheon and Fashion Show fundraiser event on their website, gracecentersofhope.org. Dr. Clark, if people are interested in attending the event or helping out as a sponsor, we're going to get more information or purchase tickets to this event.
We do have some tickets left, which is amazing. They can go to www.gracecentersofhope.org, or they can call 248-334-2187, and they can purchase a ticket that way.
More information on their website, gracecentersofhope.org, where you can purchase tickets by going to their special events page and clicking on Fashion Show Tickets at the top of their website, or as Dr. Clark said, by calling the Grace Centers of Hope phone number at 248-334-2187. Specifically, it's 248-334-2187 for more information. Dr. Clark, anything else about the women's program that we haven't spoken about today that would be interesting or important for our audience to know, or anything else that you'd like to discuss today?
These women that are going to be the models are so excited. And I just, people that come to the fashion show, they are the reason that Grace Centers of Hope Women's Program stays open. And what amazing blessing that is, that you can be a part of changing another woman's life. That's why we call it Women Helping Women.
Dr. Clark, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. More information on the women's program and the Women Helping Women luncheon and fashion show by visiting Grace Centers of Hope's website, gracecentersofhope.org. You can also call for tickets at 248-334-2187, 248-334-2187, and also by texting GCH Fashion to 45888. You can also text for ticket information. GCH Fashion is the message you send to 45888. We'll take a quick break here on the Michigan Megacast. On the other side of the break, spring has sprung in the Great Lakes State, meaning not only is it traffic season, it's also travel season. Dave Lorenz from Travel Michigan joins us next on the Michigan Megacast.
Parents do a lot of worrying. Get your kids caught up on childhood vaccines to protect them from these 14 preventable diseases, and you'll have 14 fewer things to worry about. Vaccines are safe and effective and save lives. So let's get caught up on vaccines and worry about something else. Get the facts at ivaccinate.org.
We may come from different organizations,
but we work together to protect the Huron River for everyone.
Most of the pollution that goes into our rivers is carried by rainwater that flows off of roads, parking lots, and rooftops.
The leaves and bark of a single tree can retain a surprising amount of rainwater. Depending on its size and species, it could be 100 gallons or more.
It is estimated that an urban forest can reduce annual runoff by up to 7%.
Here's one thing that we know can help keep our water clean.
Plant a tree.
Plant a tree.
Plant a tree.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
One of the things you can look for in your friends is a change in behavior. These can be big changes, they can be small changes in mood, physical appearance. They may be sleeping less or sleeping more, drinking more, or their eating patterns may be different.
One big change that can be pretty obvious is change in motivation. Do they no longer want to play basketball? Do they no longer want to play video games?
Now that we're spending more time online and in virtual settings, it's really important to pay attention to the language that your friend is using and the words they're using to communicate.
So when we text our friends, are they taking longer amounts of time to respond? Are they not responding at all? You don't have to be an expert to try to recognize these signs. The second that you feel it in your gut and that you're concerned, that's the second to have the conversation and open the door to what might be going on.
Today, it is easier than ever to join Michigan's Organ Donor Registry and help build a bridge of hope for organ, tissue, and eye donation. Just one person can potentially save or help improve the lives of up to 75 people. By joining, your legacy could be the gift of life. Sign up today at michigan.gov/SOS or at any of the more than 145 Secretary of State self-service stations located across Michigan. Be part of Michigan's Bridge of Hope by adding your name to the Organ Donor Registry.
When times get dark, we can't see the help that's all around us. When you don't know where to turn, let 211 be your guiding light.
How can I help you?
Our guides are ready to connect you with the help you need. For help with food, healthcare, mental health, and other resources. Call 211 or visit 211.org. 211. Get connected, get help.
If you are struggling to afford your internet bills during the pandemic, there's a temporary government program that may be able to help. It's called the Emergency Broadband Benefit, and it provides up to a $50 monthly discount on your broadband bill to qualifying households. Find more information about the program, including if you qualify and how to enroll, at fcc.gov/broadbandbenefit or call toll-free at 833-511-0311.
A public service announcement from 89.3 Lakes FM.
Whether you're the city,
the county,
or the Huron River Watershed Council,
we work together to protect water resources for everyone.
Most of the pollution entering our rivers is carried by rainwater that runs off roads, parking lots, and rooftops.
A rain garden helps catch stormwater runoff.
Rain gardens and their plants help dirty runoff soak into the ground.
You can do your part to help keep our water clean.
Learn about rain gardens and native plants.
So consider a rain garden in your home landscaping.
Catch the runoff with a rain garden.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
Welcome back to the Michigan Megacast. I'm Tyler Keefe. To learn more about the program by visiting our website at civiccentertv.com/megacast, where you'll find information on our entire network of stations, including My Michigan TV, otherwise known as My. Spring, summer, and fall are some of the most eventful seasons for Michiganders and visitors alike to explore all that the Great Lakes State has to offer. Joining us now to preview a travel season that may be a major boom for Michigan's economy and the Michigan spirit is Dave Lorenz, Vice President of Travel Michigan. Dave, thank you for joining us.
Good morning, Tyler. It's good to be with you. And I think you're right. We are ready to travel. I look at all the research, but I also talk to my friends and I know how I feel. I'm ready to travel. And the research we look at really does show a huge pent-up demand for domestic traveler, Americans who want to come and visit Pure Michigan, and for international travel too. Those folks, our friends in Canada, they can't wait to get here. We just need to make it easier for those international folks to cross those borders, and we're trying to get there too. So it's going to be a busy summer. I'm going to say this more than once, so I'll say it right now. Book your rooms now. I just want to tell you, I don't want you to be disappointed. So book your rooms now, and then we'll talk about some other tips down the road too.
We're joined by Dave Lorenz, Vice President of Travel Michigan, joining us on the Michigan Megacast. So part of what makes Michigan so unique is the different specialty areas all across the state for festivals, for specific events. And one of the first that's coming up in the spring and summer season is May 7th through 15th in Holland, Michigan, on the west side of the state. It's the Tulip Time Festival. Can you tell those who have never been to Holland for this event about that event and what makes it so special having this event in one of our great cities in western Michigan?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked. I always think of Blossom Time down in the Benton Harbor, St. Joe area, and Tulip Time in Holland is kind of the beginning of spring for me. Almost always. They just tend to have great weather. I don't know how they do it, but they just get lucky. But this year's festival is going to be slightly different, just like everybody else. We've had to make adjustments for many reasons. And the festival this year is going to not have, I don't think they're going to do that Wednesday Volks Parade. They're going to do the big Volks Parade, the People's Parade, on Saturday the 14th. It's the one I typically am in, and I'm sweeping with my wooden shoes, keep cleaning those streets. So I'm hoping the schedule is going to allow me to be there that day. And even if I'm not invited to be in the parade, I'm going to be on the sidelines, because it's really cool to see so many people dressed up in Dutch regalia, traditional Dutch regalia, representing all assets of, or all various sectors of society, from, you know, people who would be working the fields to the noblemen, so to speak, and women. So that's a really cool thing to see. And then, of course, you have all the other parade elements that everybody's used to seeing and hearing. Lots of bands. And I think we really do need to get out and support these parades and just enjoy hearing them and watching them this year. It's going to be great to have that all back. And of course, this festival, like so many others, they have the big carnival that starts that prior weekend, around the 5th, 6th, 7th, something like that of May. And then we have a whole bunch of other things that people have come to expect and really love, like the Dutch dancing demonstrations. They're all over the place. Seeing those young people, and occasionally not so young, dance with wooden shoes. Occasionally, it's kind of like a baseball game. You have to keep your eyes open. Occasionally, a wooden shoe goes flying, so keep your eyes open. And it's just a blast. Plenty of fun shows as well, including an artist who will appear and sound like Elton John. So it's going to be a great week.
We're joined by Dave Lorenz, Vice President of Travel Michigan, joining us on the Michigan Megacast. Also on the west side of the state, one of the more renowned gems of the state of Michigan is the Meyer Gardens out in Grand Rapids, and they have a blooming event that's coming up, a butterflies blooming event in Grand Rapids that's coming up too, and their summer concert series is also going to be back this summer as well. For those that have not visited the Meyer Gardens, can you just give them a little bit of insight into what they may experience over there and some of the special events that will be happening back in one of those pillars of pure Michigan?
Happy to do that. I used to work for Fred Meyer, and I just so loved Fred and the whole family because they're so special, and they've given back so much to that community, and to tell you the truth, to every community where there's a Meyer store, and even more so. Fred was a very humble man. He didn't want to put his name on buildings or such. So you might be surprised that local baseball park in your town or whatever, very likely supported by the Meyer family. And so when you go to Meyer Gardens and Sculpture Park, what you're going to see is Fred and Lena's passions. Lena was a real lover of gardens, and Fred was a real lover of sculpture. And they blended their passions together for the nation's largest such garden and sculpture park. And it's kind of in the kind of north part of Grand Rapids, just off of I-96 at Beltline. It is an awesome place. And you don't have to really kind of be into either of these things to really enjoy walking through the displays, the gardens, the sculptures, both indoors and outdoors. And of course, they have special events all the time. You mentioned the Fred and Dorothy Fichter Butterflies Are Blooming event that's happening right now, the most popular event they have of the year. I was just there last week. I've been there many times, and for this specific event, there's just something about going into that tropical conservatory. It's about 85 degrees, especially if we get one of those, you know, kind of return to winter days that we tend to have this time of year. It's nice going into that beautiful warm gallery of flora and see all these beautiful plants. And then don't be surprised if a butterfly lands on your shoulder because they're all over the place, and they're from all over the world. That's a pretty cool thing to see, especially in that environment. So check it out right now. It's very popular though, so make sure to go in advance online to get your tickets. We always say your trip begins at michigan.org. I always forget the various websites to the various places. So the easiest way to do it, go to michigan.org, do a search for either Butterflies Are Blooming or Meyer Gardens and Sculpture Park, and then you'll get to their website and book your time when you want to be there and just spend the day really enjoying that. And then while you are in the Grand Rapids area, just like every other festival or event, make sure to take that time also to experience and explore the community. Grand Rapids area is a beautiful town. And like so many bigger cities, it's been pretty hit by COVID. So the more we can support these towns and these events, the faster we're going to recover, get people back to work, get our economy going, and get our lives back as well. So check it out. You're going to love it. The other places to go to in Grand Rapids that are just musts include the Gerald R. Ford Museum, right across the street from the Grand Rapids Public Museum. Check out the fantastic Art Museum. There's so many things to see. You're going to love it.
We're joined by Dave Lorenz, Vice President of Travel Michigan, joining us on the Michigan Megacast. Dave, as the sun comes out, as the weather gets into the 50s, into the 60s, and beyond, that also kicks off golf season here in the state of Michigan, one of the favorite spring and summer and fall pastimes of Michiganders and visitors to the state. Can you tell us about some of the many different golf courses and some that are golf courses and resorts across the state of Michigan that may be hidden gems for those golf enthusiasts?
Absolutely true. We have more than 650 public golf courses in the state. We're the number 1, 2, or 3, I've lost track, on numbers of public golf courses. But this is the thing that nobody else can compare with us. We have the best value for great golfing in this state. Value, of course, is that kind of combination and that connection between price and quality. So when you go to one of our golf courses, in any of the state, anywhere basically, you're going to have a really good deal for what you get, and that's basically because we have so many golf courses. There's a lot of competition, and the other cool thing about that is you don't have to go very far, and there's a golf course. There are many golf courses that will suit your style and your skill level. I used to golf 3 times a week, got to expect to be pretty good. Now that I golf like 3 or 4 times a year, not so good. But I can always find a place to go. And if you're in the right group, doesn't matter how good you are, it's all about having fun and connecting with people. It's a great way for us to get back together again in a golf course, whether it's for leisure or for a business connection. There's nothing like, after a business meeting, getting together on one of our Michigan golf courses, talking about the day, doing a little business, and getting to know each other. That's how networking works. That's how you make business in the future as well. There's nothing like it at a golf course. So a couple of big places to go to, maybe for a little bit of a drive, even though the kind of southeast Michigan area offers many good golf courses. You might want to consider kind of that Gaylord region, places like Treetops Resort, fantastic. Treetops, when you get there, you know why it's called that, because it's such a hilly area. You are overlooking this beautiful river territory, and then before you get there, you see all these trees. It's amazing. They have an incredible 3 tops course, which is just very, very special, and it's a par 3. And then the rest of the courses, multiple courses there. This is the thing. You go to a place like this, within minutes, you could be on another course, which is just as beautiful. Most people will think of that Traverse City area, multiple courses. I was on the Wolverine course last year myself at Grand Traverse Resort. Spectacular. And I love that it had a lot of room because I tend to spray the ball all over the place. So that was great. There are golf courses that are unique and special in places like Mackinac Island, the Jewel. And then they have a golf course. This has been there for a long time. I'm going to mess up the name, so I won't try. A Native American name. And that is pretty special too. It's literally on an old War of 1812 battlefield is where that golf course is. So, man, we have them and they're all over the place. You're going to love it.
More information about golfing in Michigan, as well as other unique vacation spots and interesting activities at michigan.org. We're joined by Dave Lorenz, Vice President of Travel Michigan, on the Michigan Megacast. One of my favorite places to go at two different points of the year and the changes of the seasons, as we change from winter to spring and from summer to fall, is to go to East Lansing, go to the campus of Michigan State University and explore over there, especially in the spring as the flowers are blossoming, particularly over there in the Beal Gardens, but also happening on the campus of Michigan State University currently is their 10th annual MSU Science Festival. Can you tell us a little bit about that event that's happening now through April 30th in East Lansing?
Yeah, in fact, I'm trying to find a way to get to that science festival, science fair myself, because I've never been there, but I've heard great things. You know, we all talk about STEM and the importance for us to integrate the value of having a better understanding of science and technology and all that. Well, here's an opportunity for you to bring the kids, bring young people, have them see kind of real life examples of how science is such an important part of our lives, and maybe something for young people to look at as a career down the road. And the best part about it, it's free. So check that out at the MSU campus and be inspired. And when you go to MSU, of course, we tend to think of the MSU campus for obviously great school that it is, great sports teams that they offer. I want to have a shout out for the Wharton Center, the big theater there, the beautiful theater. Not only is it great and they offer great shows, but the entire Lansing area has been intentional about being welcoming to folks on the spectrum. For people with challenges, with sensitivity challenges, with autism and other issues, Lansing has really intentionally tried to make sure that their attractions are built and that they have events that meet the needs of the disabled community, specifically about things with autism. So the Wharton Theater, for instance, when they have a musical, they very often will have one musical out of that series where they bring down the intensity of the lights and the sound and other things that might be challenging for someone with autism. I love that. I love that they're thinking about that. And we're trying to get the rest of the state and the rest of the country, frankly, to think along these lines as well, because if we're not welcoming to all, we're not welcoming. And so we need to think about the disabled community as well, and all that we can do to make sure that those folks are able to take advantage of everything else that everybody else can as well.
We're joined by Dave Lorenz, Vice President of Travel Michigan, joining us on the Michigan Megacast. Lastly, on the specific events side coming up, and this is one that I know the king of television, Larry Nyland, our producer, is very excited about. Next week, April 19th through 21st, is the Pure Michigan Governors Conference at the Grand Traverse Resort and Spa in Acme, just outside of Traverse City, a city you mentioned earlier on. Can you tell us about this conference, and is it open to the public if people want to experience this event like our producer Larry Nyland will be next week with Steve Lato and others from My Michigan TV?
Yeah, we've closed registration. We had to limit registration. You know, we're still going through COVID protocols, so we wanted to make sure that we didn't have that many more than 400 attendees. This is where we do the business of travel, and this is where travel industry experts from all over the state come together and we share best insights, we network, we have tremendous speakers. We're going to talk about issues like DEI, and it's important to realize when we come together, our industry wants to make sure we're not just, checking a box, that we're learning how to be sensitive to diversity issues, how to be more inclusive, how to celebrate the fact that this state is a very diverse state. Not only celebrate it, but how we encourage people to travel and get to places where people appear to be different just because of the way we look. But in reality, after we do that and we have full immersion in other communities, we understand we're all the same. We all want a better life for our kids and grandkids. That's what travel does. It helps us to understand these things. So we'll have a couple of speakers and a couple of sessions on this very important issue. We'll also talk about international marketing. We're going to hear from Pauline Frommer from Frommer's Guidebooks on things that the travel industry needs to be aware of, including the whole thing about accessibility and diversity and such. And then we'll have some other folks on kind of research and whatever else. And then I get to go into detail about what we're doing with the Travel Michigan campaign, how we're trying to stay ahead of the game, always be trendsetters, and always stay ahead with the message that we realize we're not perfect. We have a lot to learn and a lot to learn together. And with that thought, we're pretty proud of this place, this very diverse place with diverse people and diverse places to experience. And we're going to try to showcase to the travel industry what we're going to do to get people traveling again. And we need to get them back. So looking forward to that. It's going to be a busy couple of days.
We're joined by Dave Lorenz, Vice President of Travel Michigan, joining us on the Michigan Megacast. Dave, before we let you go, you mentioned earlier on you got some helpful tips for Michiganders and visitors hoping to visit Michigan all throughout the next several seasons with all these great events and different sites to see, and Michigan being back open for the warmer seasons of the year. Can you provide us some of that advice? Of course, you mentioned booking those hotel rooms early. What other advice do you have for Michigan travelers this season?
Yeah, thank you for that. Explore this great state. We have so much to offer, and unfortunately, people tend to only go to the waterfront areas. Hey, they're beautiful. We understand that. But remember, we have 11,000 inland lakes in the states as well. So we have a lot to offer in the waterfront forest area, trails everywhere, as we mentioned, golf courses everywhere. So explore the lesser known places. It's going to be easier to get in there, fewer people, and better rates. So consider that. As in addition to booking early, do a little exploring and consider the cities. We typically in the summertime go to, the beaches and whatever, but our cities offer great experiences too. I'm going to be at the Tigers game next Friday night. I can't wait. And then when I'm there, I'm going to show a friend the DIA, the wonderful museum. We're going to go to the Henry Ford Museum as well. We're going to check out the Woodward Corridor. We're going to kind of go all around the downtown Detroit area. And then we're going to kind of check out the entire region to the degree that we have time. And then, so that's a great example of how you can stretch out your experience wherever you go, just by kind of thinking about these kind of new places maybe you haven't been to or haven't been to for a while. And really, let's do what we can to support those cities. They need us back right now.
Dave, anything else for us or for Michigan travelers and visitors before we let you go today?
Just remember, as we always say, Tim Allen, you'll start to see and hear our ads out there right now. Maybe see some billboards out and such. Your trip begins at Michigan.org. I'm thrilled to tell you, within a couple of days, we'll be launching our new website. It will be the most accessible state travel website in the country. We already are, but we're really proud of this move we're making to make it easier for people who can't see, and they'll be able to still enjoy the website as well. And if you are without sight, you know what I mean with these various reader technologies that we have. So we're thrilled about that. Michigan.org. Check it out now, and then check it out in a week. I think by the next week we'll have it launched.
Again, that is Michigan.org. Thank you, Dave.
Good to talk to you, Tyler.
Good to talk to you as well. Again, you can learn more information by visiting Michigan.org. We've been joined by Dave Lorenz, Vice President of Travel Michigan, here on the Michigan Megacast. We're going to take a quick break. On the other side, when we come back, we'll talk to the Director of the Arc of Oakland County, Dawn Calnen, joins us next on the Michigan Megacast.
I couldn't breathe at all. There was lots of talk about putting me on a ventilator. I thought I was going to die. I was 39 weeks pregnant and had a scheduled C-section. During that time, I got COVID and was hospitalized for a month. I had a blood clot in my lungs. It caused me to go into right-sided heart failure. I was really scared. I kept texting my husband and my mom, telling them how scared I was, and I was worried that he was gonna grow up without a mom. And then I was worried if, when I did get home, that he wouldn't know who I was. Being 27 and a mom and a wife and having that all almost taken away from me. It's scary, and if a vaccine can prevent that from happening, why not? Get your vaccine. I don't want this to happen to anybody else.
A message from the staff of Michigan's Crime Victim Compensation Program.
Anyone can be a victim of crime
and suffer lasting trauma, physically, emotionally, and financially.
But you are not alone.
If you're struggling financially due to a crime,
we're here
for you. Find out if you qualify for crime victim compensation.
Call 877-251-7373 or visit michigan.gov/crime-victim.
A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, Division of Victim Services.
If you are struggling to afford your internet bills during the pandemic, there's a temporary government program that may be able to help. It's called the Emergency Broadband Benefit, and it provides up to a $50 monthly discount on your broadband bill to qualifying households. Find more information about the program, including if you qualify and how to enroll, at fcc.gov/broadbandbenefit or call toll-free at 833-511-0311.
A public service announcement from 89.3 Lakes FM.
You see certain things get reincarnated in your children. My daughter is very much inspired by my wife's artistic pursuits. So my daughter started making necklaces. She makes what we call affirmation fashion. I tell her every day that your black is beautiful. Your black is beautiful. Your black is beautiful. And if there's anything better than being beautiful, it's being smart. And if there's anything better than being smart, it's being kind. And reaffirming that every day is our method of making sure her chin never drops. My dad wasn't around, and I remember riding a bike and falling off and cutting myself, and me never just wanted to get back on it. People ask, how your children learn how to ride a bike, and you didn't. I didn't teach them. I just created an environment where they taught themselves, and all I had to do was be there.
Whether you're the city,
the county,
or the Huron River Watershed Council.
As partners working together to protect our water resources, we agree.
Pet waste is a source of harmful bacteria in the Huron River.
When it's left on the ground, it can wash into the storm drains.
These lead directly to our streams. No filters, no treatment.
Here's one thing we know that can help keep our water clean.
Pick up pet waste and trash it.
Pick up pet waste and trash it.
So pick up pet waste and trash it.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
Welcome back to the Michigan Megacast. I'm Tyler Keefe. To learn more about the program at civiccentertv.com/megacast, where you'll also find information on our entire network of stations, including My Michigan TV. With us now on the program is Dawn Calnen. She is the Executive Director of the Arc of Oakland County, a 501c3 nonprofit that advocates for the rights and full participation of all children and adults with intellectual and other related developmental disabilities. Dawn, thank you for being with us today.
Thank you, Tyler. Thanks for having me.
Appreciate having you on. So first off, can you tell us about the Arc of Oakland County, its history, and some of the services it provides to those with intellectual and other developmental disabilities in the Oakland County area?
Absolutely. So in the beginning, you were reading our mission, and that's great. We assist folks with intellectual and developmental disabilities in Oakland County with a number of issues that could occur through the lifespan of the individual. We were formed in 1967, and essentially it was a group of folks, a group of parents who were sitting around a table, and they were discussing how they could help to provide a better life for their loved ones. And so from that, the Arc of Oakland County was created. I am the new executive director. My predecessor had been here for 39 years, so for much of the lifetime of the ARC. I mentioned that we provide services, individual services to folks. An individual with a disability has a number of challenges throughout their lifetime that they work to overcome. And much of that is access to services and resources. And so we are the organization that folks can call when they have questions about who to reach out to for a variety of issues. We do have specific programs that we provide to individuals. One is we are special education advocates. So in Michigan, essentially, an individual with a disability can go to school from the age of, birth, but age of 3 to the age of 26. And so we provide that span of special education advocacy to folks. I am an attorney, and we have a couple other advocates on staff who work with families. With that initial introduction to the families, other things do come up throughout the lifetime. And one of the largest type of resource that we provide is we assist folks when they are turning 18 and becoming adults, and they want to and need to access the government benefit system and entitlements. And so we help the families and the individuals. We explain what the system is. We explain how to access it, and also how to retain benefits, because it's very difficult to, if anybody's ever had to work with the federal government, which is wonderful, but there's a lot of paperwork involved. So we work with families on that. We also have a program that I am really proud of called the Forever Plan. And what that is we are the answer to what keeps families up at night when they say, what is going to happen to my loved one? Who will be there for them when I am no longer able to be there for them? And so we have a program wherein we provide, again, that lifespan of services to individuals, even after the death or incapacity of their family and loved ones. So with that, we can become a guardian, a representative payee, whatever it is that that individual needs in order for their life to be as successful as it has been all along.
We're joined by Dawn Calnen, the Executive Director of the Arc of Oakland County, joining us on the Michigan Megacast. It's also a Share Detroit supported 501c3 charity and nonprofit. You can learn more information by either visiting sharedetroit.org and searching for the Arc of Oakland County, or visiting thearcoakland.org as well. And so the Arc of Oakland County, it serves specifically the Oakland County area. That's what this chapter does serve, but it is connected to the Arc of the U.S. How does that connection help your organization, but also how widely available are these services beyond just Oakland County and the many other counties here in the state of Michigan?
Yeah, that's such a great question. So a couple things. One is we are a local chapter. We have a state chapter, and then we're one of 600 chapters around the United States. And one of the greatest benefits of being an ARC and being a part of the local and national chapters are we have access to experts in public policy and people who can assist us with their legislative issues that really impact the life of an individual with a disability, and they those chapters really help us local chapters in how we can then meet with our members to impact change for their loved ones. There's a number of other things that the chapters do for us, but they are there for us in any needs that we have, resources that we need as well. There are ARCs in many counties in Michigan and other states. I have a colleague that says, if you've seen one ARC, you've seen one ARC. And that just means that the different ARC chapters do provide different services. There are a few, I believe, in Michigan that have attorneys on staff or attorneys as executive directors. And of course, that allows us to provide more in-depth services to folks. We assist folks with a few different legal matters, such as assisting them with powers of attorney, guardianships, some probate issues, issues with Social Security Administration, appeals, things like that. So it does make us a little bit unique, but I can assure you that counties across the state of Michigan and in the U.S., if there is an ARC in your county or a neighboring county, they will be there to serve the population of folks with developmental disabilities and intellectual impairments.
We're joined by Dawn Calnen, the Executive Director of the Arc of Oakland County, joining us on the Michigan Megacast. More information on their website, thearcoakland.org. And so if families or individuals are in need of some of these services, in need of some of these resources from your organization, how can they go about getting involved with the Arc of Oakland County?
Sure. So if there's a family who has access already to sort of the behavioral health system, it is likely that they can find out about us because we partner with a number of agencies in our community. But they can also call us directly. I think that we'll leave our phone number, and we have a website. But we are a membership organization. We do ask that people, if they're able to become members. I think it's $55 a year, so it is a minimal cost, and that's really just asking people to invest in us, and as we invest in you. But again, you don't have to be a member in order for us to assist you. Simply picking up the phone and calling. We also have, like many other, social media, and so we ask people to please go to Facebook, look up the Arc of Oakland, and like us or follow us. We do put out a lot of information that impacts our community. And even if you don't have a loved one with a disability, it is likely that you have somebody that you know that is impacted by disability. And what we want you to know is join us in helping us to help them live better lives. And the community coming together to do that is very important. So we ask the entire community to consider becoming a part of their local ARC.
Thearcoakland.org is their website. That's thearcoakland.org, or by visiting sharedetroit.org and searching for the Arc of Oakland County. Their phone number, 248-816-1900. That's 248-816-1900. Dawn Calnen, the Executive Director of the Arc of Oakland County, joins us on the Michigan Megacast. You mentioned becoming a member is one way to help the organization at this time. What are some other ways that people in the community can support the Arc of Oakland County?
Yes, so we have a variety of fundraising opportunities. We just had our biggest event called the Dove Awards. It's something that I'm just truly so proud of and happy to be able to be a part of it. That is where we recognize individuals in our community who have helped people to live their best lives. And that is also, we have a silent auction, and we have it is a fundraising event. We have a lot of sponsors. So that is certainly one way. We are also, throughout the year, we host smaller fundraisers. We have an annual run. I'm not the one that runs. I wish someday, hopefully I'll get back to it, but we have a supporter who runs for us in the Brooksy Way run, and we do fundraise money for that. All of the money goes right back into assisting individuals with disabilities. We are always looking for volunteers and great board members. So that is certainly another way to assist, but also, like I said before, just really looking into us. If you are somebody who is interested in helping to better the life of an individual with a disability, please come join us in that. And I'd love to talk to you about the number of ways that you could be beneficial to that.
Dawn, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Appreciate it. More information on their website, thearcoakland.org. That's thearcoakland.org, or go to sharedetroit.org and search in their charities and nonprofits catalog for the Arc of Oakland County. Their phone number, again, for those of you without access to the web, is 248-816-1900. That's 248-816-1900 if you'd like to call them for more information as well, or visit their website. Again, that's thearcoakland.org. That is going to do it for today's edition of both the Michigan and Oakland County Megacasts. We want to thank everybody that joined us on today's edition of the program. Includes Dawn Calnen, of course, the Executive Director of the Arc of Oakland County, Dave Lorenz, the Vice President of Travel Michigan with the Michigan Economic Development Corporation, Dr. Pam Clark, the Women's Program Director at Grace Centers of Hope, Dewey Steffen from Great Lakes Wealth, as well as Barb Williams from the Catholic Community Response Team located in Pontiac, Michigan. You can view all of these interviews on demand by visiting our website, civiccentertv.com, and clicking on Megacast, or just typing in civiccentertv.com/Megacast. You'll also be able to learn more information about all of our partnering stations at that link as well. I'll also encourage you to go to our coronavirus link at civiccentertv.com/coronavirus and keep up to date on everything you need to know about COVID-19 from the CDC, the MDHHS, and the Oakland County Health Division, as well as our top stories making headlines all across the Great Lakes State each and every day that we post before our 10 a.m. to 12 noon live editions of the Oakland County and Michigan Megacasts. Big thank you to our crew that makes this program possible each and every day. Calvin Brown, our technical director, back with us on today's edition of the Oakland County and Michigan Megacasts. The king of television himself, Larry Nyland, our producer, booking all of our guests and helping them get ready to join us each and every day. Jared Clark, our Zoom producer, and Maddie Mustian out at Master Control helping us on and off the air. Up next, it's Steve Leto live on My Michigan TV, followed by Larry and Maddie live. We'll return Friday at 10 a.m.